NAACP has issued a travel advisory for Florida, and it's urging the black community to avoid visiting or moving to the Sunshine State. According to the statement, the advisory comes in direct response to Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' quote, aggressive attempts to erase black history. And it calls Florida openly hostile toward African Americans, people of color, and the LGBTQ individuals. CNN has reached out to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for comment, but did not receive a response.
You're about to get really discounted tickets to Miami Dolphins games, maybe the rest of the Miami Heat playoff games, and maybe even get discounted tickets for the rest of the Florida Panthers season. You see, no black people want to be in Florida, not even South Florida. No black people want to visit a state that's openly hostile to black people. So I don't know what they're going to do. You've got the NBA, which has a league that's comprised mostly of black players. You've got an NFL football team mostly comprised of black players. And you're telling everybody, don't come to Florida, don't stay here, don't visit. It's really bad. It's hostile. You're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing black people be strung out into the streets and beat and shot. What are these people talking about? I know I mainly talk about the Miami Dolphins on this channel, but today something so egregious happened that I had to talk about it, especially with the Miami Heat playing tonight, with the Miami Dolphins opening up OTAs tomorrow, and all the black players and coaches and fans who are subject to so much hostility in South Florida. At least that's what CNN is telling everybody. They're talking about putting some sort of disinformation board in place in the government, while every single news broadcast is out there just spewing crap. That's not true. I'm not in a hostile environment. I'm in a great community. My wife and I just came back from enjoying lunch. And oh my God, I'm married to a white woman. I can't even imagine what the other white people must think. They must want to just strike out at me. I wonder why they haven't taken their chance in the 30 years that we've been married. You know, since everyone's so hostile to black people. Maybe they don't recognize that I'm black. Maybe they just don't understand that the kinky hair that I've had, that I've been black in Florida for 30 years. What the hell's going on here? Why is CNN, why is everybody trying to paint picture as hostile to black people? Tonight, depending on when you see this video, the Miami Heat are playing the third game in their series against the Boston Celtics. Oh my God, the Boston Celtics had to come down to South Florida to play a game with their black players against the Miami Heat's black players. Oh my God, what will the NAACP do? And OTAs are starting tomorrow for the Miami Dolphins, and they've drafted a few players that are, black. I wonder what Devin A-Chain thinks about having to live and visit in Miami. Do you think he's going to turn down his contract because it's so hostile? Imagine a white man like Stephen Ross paying this black man millions of dollars. I can't believe that he's doing that because it's so hostile here. Enough with the charade. In case you didn't listen to this insanity that's being spewed out on national television once again.
NAACP has issued a travel advisory for Florida, and it's urging the black community to avoid visiting or moving to the Sunshine State.
Avoid moving or visiting the Sunshine State. Well, if you do that, more than likely, the crime rate will go down. Nobody wants to talk about that, though. That was bad. That was racist for me to say. Come on, people. My sisters live in Connecticut. They can't wait to get away from the Northeast and come down and visit South Florida. Every rapper, every celebrity, you'll see them in the audience of the games, can't wait to come down to South Florida. Who in the hell is the NAACP talking to? What kind of moron do you have to be to believe this gibberish? Let's continue with it.
To the statement, the advisory comes in direct response to Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' quote, aggressive attempts to erase black history.
Come on, man. Are you seriously? Is your audience that stupid? Do you not see the faces when you pan the crowd at the NBA and NFL games? Do you not understand what is going on? The diaspora down here in South Florida, you've got Jews, you've got blacks, you've got Hispanics, all in one big melting pot, enjoying life here in South Florida. You have to be quite the moron if you hear this stuff on TV and think that's the case for, all of South Florida. It's absolutely insane.
And it calls Florida openly hostile toward African Americans, people of color, and the LGBTQ individuals.
What does LGBTQ have to do with black people not visiting the state of Florida? What laws did Ron DeSantis pass where they think we're just being inundated with hostility? I can't imagine. We can't walk into stores. We can't walk into restaurants. We can't walk into movie theaters. It's all a lie. I'm going to be watching the game tonight between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, and I guarantee you there's going to be thousands of black people in the stands who have paid $200-$300 or more per ticket. I'm going to be watching the OTAs with the Miami Dolphins, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people watching videos on YouTube about the Miami Dolphins, and they just can't wait to see the team play at the Hard Rock. Do they really think this blather is going to work? Do they really think that those of us who live here in South Florida see this stuff and go, yeah, it sounds pretty much right. It's pretty much how things are down here. It's awful. It's all bullshit. It's 100% bullshit. Trust me, I'm a black man. I go out all the time here in South Florida, throughout South Florida. I go to restaurants. I go to theaters. And by the way, don't bother go seeing Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh my God, did that suck. But we go everywhere. I don't have a problem. I pull up my car to the valet. The valet smiles. He's often a black guy too. And he'll take the car and go park it. And oh my God, he doesn't go, hey man, how do we get out of here? I understand this is really a bad place to be. It's hostile. I got people everywhere calling me the N-word. I got everywhere people call me all kinds of names. No, that doesn't happen. Life in South Florida is awesome. We have the beach. The sports teams are killing it. Music at the different arenas around the state. Luckily, people are seeing through this BS and laughing at the NAACP. I don't know how this organization lost their way, but they truly have. Let's look at some of the comments on this tweet. So this is the tweet that CNN put up where it says the NAACP issues a travel advisory for Florida saying the state is, quote, openly hostile towards African Americans. There are 21 million people here in the state of Florida. A good portion of those people are black. You would think that CNN at some point would get a microphone and stick it in somebody's face down here and go, how bad is it to live as a black person in Florida? But no, they just post this crap. So of course they get flamed. First one, can you give an example of open hostility? Sure. I'd love to see it too. Nope, don't have it? No, don't have it. Here, I fixed it for you. NAACP issues travel advisory for all Democrat ran cities. Same here, openly hostile towards African Americans. Perfect. That's where people are getting killed. Not in South Florida, not even in Miami. This is absolutely absurd. Does this mean that spring breaks will be peaceful again? You guys have all seen the riots and the nonsense that happens during Black Spring Break down at South Beach. They're exactly right. Does anyone consider traveling to Florida? Actually check with the NAACP to see if it's a safe place to travel. Does this help improve the credibility of the NAACP? Did NAACP hire the Bud Light marketing executive? It's absurd. I don't understand what these people are thinking and why CNN chose to put this stuff on the air. Not true as usual. No one is hostile against African Americans in Florida, but you need to keep the system of hate and wokeness alive, even if you see your ratings tank and ultimately be the end of CNN. Absolutely. New headline, NAACP loses remnants of credibility after latest stunt. Once again, trying to cause division. Complete nonsense. African Americans in Florida should be praising his attempts to stop illegal immigration that is displacing resources from the African American community that needs it. The NAACP is no longer a serious organization. This is typical of the outcome of all organizations that achieve their stated goals 50 years ago, but continue to pursue anything they can to remain relevant and grab some cash. I love this one. What institution is doing more to hold black folks back? The state of Florida or the NAACP? That's the sickest lie ever. But the race grifter industry is desperate these days, as Biden is bleeding support with black voters as 2024 campaign heats up. I could go on and on and on. This is on CNN's timeline, and people are openly laughing at them, just openly going, you're nuts. You're absolutely insane. This is the biggest disinformation, misinformation campaign you can expect to see today. Black people are not being subject to hostility for being in South Florida. It ain't happened. It just makes you wonder how much you see on television is complete crap and how they're making up stuff. And Epstein didn't kill himself. And everything else that you're hearing in the news is nothing compared to what real life is. And that's why I often say what you see on Twitter is insane, because people are just putting stuff out there. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't see it. Nobody I know sees it. Nobody I work with sees it. Nobody understands the BS that these networks put out about there being hostility towards black people in South Florida. Is there racism? Of course there's racism. Nobody's denying that racism exists, but you have to go find it. You actually have to go looking for it. It's not like you're sitting in a car, stopped at a traffic light, and someone turns and looks at you and says, hey, you're black. F you, buddy. It doesn't happen. I wouldn't lie to you. I wouldn't say that there's no hostility if there was. I wouldn't leave my wife and go on business trips if I thought at all that she'd be subject to any kind of hostility. This is BS, complete BS, and it tells me somebody's afraid. Somebody's afraid of black people actually waking the hell up and understanding how they've been led by the nose for 60 years. None of this makes any sense. It's all a political agenda. So if you want to really see what Florida is like, come on down. I encourage you to come on down. You want to buy a house? If you can get the mortgage or you got cash, I'll sell you a house. But whatever you do, stop listening to CNN and the garbage that they put out every single night about it being a hostile environment for black people. It's not true. It's shameful. And the NAACP, I don't know where you lost your way, but oh my God, you're nothing but a propaganda BS organization at this point. You're doing nothing to help people. All you're doing is trying to further a political agenda, and thankfully, it ain't working. Go Miami Heat. Boston Celtics, have some fun while you're in South Florida after your loss tonight. OTA start. Everybody who's a Miami Dolphins fan, get behind the team. Enjoy life in South Florida. And if you don't live here, come on down. There's room and there's fun. That's all I got to say. Fins up.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?